Hi, it's Jo and today we're watching Heartstopper Season 3, Episode 1, Love. So excited this show is back. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon 2 weeks in advance, the edited version 1 week in advance, and then it comes on YouTube. And let's go!
I love you. I'm in love with you, and I just...
You don't think he feels the same? He's literally obsessed with you.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
What? I've never seen you in a vest before. Living with you is like a dream.
I'm sorry your mum's so terrible. Well, I'm glad you have people.
You can do it! You're amazing! I love you!
They're just so sweet and deserve the world. Don't overthink it, my love.
All over, actually. You just everyone needs sunscreen, Charlie.
Whether you tan or not, bless, is not the point. The point is health. Skin cancer. I'm happy for them
For my
too.
girlfriend.
What is going...
Towel.
See, I got 1, 2, so we're matching. Look, E for L.
This is the sappiest thing you've ever
Okay,
done.
your turn, your turn.
Okay, close your eyes.
Flower!
You got me flowers on.
So ridiculous. I love it!
Me too. Charlie, don't overthink it, my love.
Well, why don't you just sit here staring at him all day instead, then?
I'm not staring. Do you think you're asexual, then?
Yep, someone's asked him.
Probably.
I love you.
Oh, I love you too. And if you can say that to me, you can definitely say it to Nick.
That is totally
It is different when it's with someone you love platonically. But I still think you can say it to Nick and it will be okay. Nick's noticing. Because I think something that is really good about showing that Charlie is still struggling with his eating is, and I hope we're going to address it this season, is that it shows you that it's not like these kind of mental health problems that you have when life gets good. Like, you might develop them when life is bad, you can also develop them when life is good, but like Charlie, we kind of, I assume, developed a lot of his bad habits and sort of bad mental health when he was being bullied and when he was being made to feel small and made to feel not good enough. But now he's happy, he has an amazing friend group, even better than the one he had before, because he still has the one he had before, it's just got even more people in it. He's got a boyfriend who he loves, and yes, he's feeling insecure about saying it right now, but he knows Nick cares about him, even if he doesn't want to believe Nick could love him yet. I like that it shows that it's not like a magical fix. Life gets good, and then all those problems I had are going to go away. That isn't how it works, unfortunately, and you can't ignore the things you're going through. You need to face them.
We're all full up, actually. Sorry.
Do you have any cola ones?
Find more for us.
Can I have an ice cream?
He's looking out for you, but we do need to help Charlie. Don't need to like do it right now in front of everybody.
Honeymoon period won't last forever.
It might.
Charlie, I hope you're not also having a summer.
Sweetheart, it develops. It becomes even better. I mean, I've never experienced it, but I believe. Becomes stronger and realer.
I feel bad.
It's okay, you need to talk to friends. Like, it is, you are like very young to be living 24/7 with your significant other.
When someone you love's in trouble, do anything to help them.
Yeah. Nick's just not sure what to do when it comes to Charlie. Like, definitely, I think it's quite telling that Charlie is sitting up there bundled up in so many clothes. Like, if I have not got an eating disorder like Charlie. I'm not trying to say I'm just like Charlie, but I am someone who's always struggled with my weight and I've always hated my appearance. And like, I'm trying to get over that now as an adult. But if I ever did anything like this with friends, I was wearing a t-shirt over any kind of swimsuit. Like, I was showing as little of my body as possible. And I look back at myself now when I was Charlie's age and I'm like, one, it doesn't even matter if I was fat, but I wasn't. I just thought I was, and it's so heartbreaking. And I'm in no way trying to say that I have been where Charlie is. I have not. I'm very fortunate in that. But I can just, ever since I've seen how bundled up he was for this day at the beach when everyone else is hardly wearing anything, and I think it's possibly also telling them that Isaac is also, I mean, Isaac has never been one to kind of he's not one of the couples or whatever, but he could be running around and splashing in the water and having fun, but he's also keeping himself apart, though he does love reading, so I'm hoping for him it is just that spending a day with his friends having fun around him while he reads is enough for him. Yes.
It's hard to know how to talk to him about it
Yeah.
without making things worse.
I know, sweetheart. And you're so young to have to deal with this kind of thing, but you just do your best.
Yeah, so he...
I remember reading forever ago now that Olivia Colman wasn't able to be in this season, and I just think it would be so interesting. Like, if I was in Nick's shoes, I feel like I maybe would discuss it with my mum. Obviously, then you have the danger that the parent will take over and will go and like contact the police. Well, not the police, but like contact the school and his parents. But in some ways, that might be what's needed. So probably talking to Charlie on your own first is the right thing to do. But at some point, I would definitely want to talk to my mum about it and Nick has a similarly good relationship with his mum, so it's sad we won't get to see that. Just do the best you can. Because it's all you can do for those you love when they're struggling.
I don't want to take my shirt off.
Okay, we'll keep it on.
Mm-hmm.
We're dry in the sun.
Making sure he gets to enjoy the beach. He went in as well, that's the thing.
I hate you. I need to talk to you about something.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
Nick, my love, and maybe don't talk about it with him now. Like, now when you're out and you're not at home and you're with a place with lots of your friends. Like, I don't know that this... I mean, obviously, Nick is just kind of bursting with this need to help Charlie, so I'm not going to, like, shame if he does bring it up now, even though it will kind of burst Charlie's I love you bubble right now. But that doesn't mean Nick doesn't love him, but, you know, it's kind of like a tonal shift. But when you're at home and, you know, there's no one around, no one watching, so you can really talk about it and Charlie can process it, like, that's where I think it needs to be done. I don't think this is the best place, my darling, but your heart is in the right place.
I think you have an eating disorder. I've been doing some research and, yeah, I know you don't want me to try and fix you or anything. Just trying.
I don't think I do.
Oh, sweetheart. There's no shame in it, my love. There's no shame in having an eating disorder, but you need help, sweetheart.
Sure. Is that what you wanted to talk about as well?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the moment for an I love you, but other than that, you didn't do any, like, neither of you have done anything wrong. I just hope Nick sort of has somehow started Charlie thinking about it, because as with so many things, I mean, you can force someone to get help, but that kind of means, like, admitting them somewhere, like, committing them, somewhere, and, like, kind of putting them into, like, a centre to be helped or whatever, which isn't always the best. These things, in so many ways, the person needs to be ready to face it and to fight for themselves. Not only fight for themselves, but be ready to face it and acknowledge it, and that can be the hardest thing to do. Doing the work himself, we like to see it.
Movie after?
Only if it's not Marvel.
Ah, yes. Forgot you have no taste.
Hey.
He's in Marvel now, that's hilarious. She's that, I mean, it's what Darcy doesn't like, is that she's messy and puts stuff all around. Oh,
Yeah.
Darcy, what am I on about? She doesn't like that Darcy is kind of, I guess, messy and, like, just does things and doesn't think there's a problem. I think if she sort of said, could you be a little bit neater or, like, put your stuff over there or something, I don't think she would hate it.
If you really don't want to, then it's fine. But she seems nice, and maybe you could just try it, because
I think if she lives with her grandmother and her grandmother is nice and isn't like the mum and is actually a good person, it would be wonderful for Darcy to be able to have that solid connection with a family member. Obviously, if she goes to her grandmother's and it's also not a great place and also not safe, maybe her mum visits a lot or something, anything about it isn't good, she might now feel like, I can't ask to go back, but you can. But also they're very young, and she kind of needed to say to Darcy at some point, you're so messy, I like my room neat, can you be a bit tidier? Because any relationship, when you start living together, that is a whole thing to work out, like all these little parts of them that you maybe didn't see before, you've got to like figure out how to deal with. They're so young to be going through all this. Okay, I'm glad she took that well. I hope she did take it that well.
I want everything to be perfect this summer. Everything's going to change when you go to Lambert. We've only got
You're
3
putting
weeks
too
left
much
together.
pressure
You're the
on it,
best thing that's ever
sweetie.
happened to me. I don't want to lose you.
I think it's so... It's just so... I love how realistic these kids are with their struggles, and they're so young, and they have so much time to worry about these things. Like, her going to a school in a different part of town is nothing compared to when you're all going off to uni, and then... Even then, you can make it work if you love each other. It's just different to how it was before, and it's all gonna be okay, babies. Sweetie, not while he's in the shower.
I love you.
Was he expecting that? That's not where his head's been, but his head's been worried.
Bye.
You kind of caught him by surprise in the shower, Charlie, my love.
Charlie, hang on. Charlie. Oh, clothes.
Charlie, you didn't give him any time, because that was a whiplash of a conversation. I think if you'd said it to him in the sea, it still would have been like a, oh my god, he's saying it, because it's the first time either of you have experienced this and you're not used to it, and you've never like fell in love with someone before, so it is all new. But that moment might have been, I mean, if his head had been where your head was, it would have been more kind of like natural. Whereas when he's just randomly in the shower and he's about to go on holiday and you're saying goodbye and you call through the bathroom door, it's an odd time to say it, but I love you for it.
Such an idiot.
No, you're not. Bless him.
Charlie. You said it when I was in the shower.
Sorry.
No S word.
Okay.
Right, can you say what you said again?
It's embarrassing.
I love you too. I love you so much.
They're so sweet.
Come here, you idiot.
You're still damp.
Yes, you said it when he was in...
You're the one who said I love you for the first time when I was in the shower.
Oh, why did I do that? Why are we like this?
Why are we like this?
Yeah, that's how in love I am. I think you'd do the same for me.
Yeah, I would.
This show is just so magical. I loved this episode. I love seeing the kids just being kids, being on the beach. It just felt natural and free. And even though I was so happy about how happy they were, they still had all of their problems going on. You know, what Darcy's going through is not quick, it's not easy. It's awful to be sort of forced to leave your home because your mother is a bigot and an awful, horrible person. I just pray and hope for her that her grandmother is better. That this is a woman who is ashamed at how, I presume her daughter, but maybe her daughter or not, I don't know, has treated her granddaughter and wants to do better. My fear would be if the grandmother isn't great to live with, that Darcy might think, oh, well, you know, I've really upset her. I can't ask her to take me back. I can't go and live with her again because she didn't like that. It was too much for her and I love her too much. I don't want to put her through that. Whereas I think as much as, you know, they might not be having the most perfect time, that's not what anyone would want. And all Darcy really probably needs to do is clean up after herself a little bit, and you know, at times they need their own space, because it is a lot to move in with somebody. It's a lot to live with someone, and especially when you're 16, that is huge. And like even as adults, because when you're like kids living in a house, your parents are in the living room or whatever, you know, you don't exactly have much space to yourself. Whereas when you're two adults moving in together, even if you live in a small place, there's more room to separate, to have breathing space, to have time alone. You're probably going to work in different offices or different jobs and do different things. Whereas like they live together, I mean, I know it's the summer holidays, their friends are the same, their school is the same. It is very intense and very full on. So I can completely understand why she was a little bit overwhelmed. And then Tao and Elle, obviously he is like, we're in the honeymoon phase and it's gonna last forever and everyone wants that. It doesn't last forever, but that doesn't mean the magic has to go away. It doesn't mean the feelings go away. If anything, from what I understand, because these kids have all experienced more love than I have, the it will develop and it will deepen and it becomes something rich. Like Nick and Charlie are well past the honeymoon phase, but they are stronger than ever. Like, yes, they have problems, but like their love is still there and they both trust each other and love each other, and it deepens and it becomes even better than the honeymoon stage. It's just different. I completely understand that kind of sense of like, oh my god, she's going to a different school. Like, at least when it was hard enough when she moved schools, but that was just like across the road or whatever. They could still get the bus together. Whereas this is going to be in a totally different place. And it does suck because they will see a lot less of each other. I mean, for me, my closest thing to this was when I was at school going into sixth form, I stayed at the same school and my best friend went to a different school. So we didn't, I'm like, we live in different towns. So like, we never, like, I mean, we never saw each other. We saw each other at weekends and half terms, and like, we saw each other quite a lot. But it is a lot to suddenly, as a kid, you go from like constantly having this person in your life all the time to nothing. It's one of the hardest things about uni and adulthood in a way is, well, not the hardest thing, but you realize like how many friendships do just slip away because as much as you liked each other and you cared about each other, neither one of you ends up putting in the work to maintain the friendship. And then the friendships that truly matter to you, you do put in the work to maintain the friendship, and they definitely matter to each other. So I do think it'll be okay. It'll be an adjustment. Obviously, I think he's also kind of worried that she's going to go to this art school and just be blown away by all these amazing, talented, wonderful people, and then she'll be like, oh, what's so special about town anyway? But if she were to do that, fuck her. With the asterisk of she's a kid, so like, you know, not the way I would do it if it was an adult acting like that. But yeah, I mean, long distance, this isn't even long distance. Uni is going to be the big test for these kids, and I choose to believe their relationships are strong enough to survive it. Some survive it, some don't. Thinking of people I know who went to uni in relationships, I don't think any of them are still with the person. A couple of them broke up in the first year, a couple of them broke up afterwards, but at least one of my friends had a boyfriend from school and kept him until a few years ago. So like, I'm 30, I've been out of uni for a long time. So like, it's possible to do it. If you love each other, you just have to be willing to make kind of, not make sacrifices, but to make it work, to put in the effort, to make that call, to take the weekend trip to go and visit them. And I believe that just going to a school across town, you're going to be okay. It's not going to be the same as it was, and that is sad, and that does suck, because it was sucked for me when my friend was no longer there to hang out with every lunchtime and was now in a different frickin' town at school. But you make it work and you make it count. Then we have Charlie and Nick, and Charlie's umming and ahhing over saying I love you. I mean, I can understand that is a terrifying thing to say, and if the other person isn't ready, it can cause catastrophe, or at the very least, when you watch TV shows, it's always people making it into this big deal. And like, for someone like Charlie, whose only real experience of love other than Nick is through fiction, he will probably be like, it's a huge deal, and if I say it and he doesn't feel it, oh, it's going to end the relationship, it's going to be so embarrassing. Whereas, given what they've gone through, if Charlie was there, I think Nick's there too. I mean, obviously we know he is, but it's so funny because as an observer, even if his sister observing them, you're like, of course Nick's going to say it back because he wants to. But it's so typically Charlie, but also typical kid, to be that worried about it and that worked up about it. And of course it wasn't the best timing in that Nick has been noticing Charlie's eating disorder getting worse and worse, and so he's struggling with what to do with it. I feel like this probably... I respect Nick a lot for bringing it up. And I think as an adult, like watching from afar, you're like in the middle of the ocean when you're out with all your friends isn't the best place to do this, to have this conversation. But at some point when he's home from his holiday, I do think he needs to sit down with Charlie and say, look, I know you don't want to talk about it, and I know you don't want to think about it, but there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong or it's shameful, but I really, really am worried about you. And I just want to look at this thing with you because you do match a lot of these signs. And so can we just talk about it, please? I love you, like, please let me help you. I mean, again, I'm saying that now. I think if I actually was trying to say that to someone I cared about, it would be very different and very difficult, especially if I was 17, 16, because if Nick's going into sixth form, he's 16. Like, I'm not trying to say it's so easy. It's impossible and it's hard, and I'm so proud of him for trying. But he's almost now at this point where Charlie's denied it and he's laughed it off, and he said, oh, you know, I know it's a bit of a problem and I have some problems, but it's not that bad. It's not that. Whereas Nick's like, it is. I know it is. I've seen it and I've read about it, and like, you match every single sign. It is that bad. So I do think probably the right thing to do now is to try and bring it up with Charlie again sometime where they can sit and talk about it. Obviously not like force Charlie to talk about it. Like, it's such a hard thing, isn't it? Because it is such a serious problem he has, a serious condition he has. I mean, my brain can't think of the correct terms to use it. I'm not trying in any way, shape, or form blame Charlie for it, because it is in no way his fault, and even him denying it is not his fault. But there's nothing shameful about it. But also, like, it's a big topic to force on someone, and if you kind of try and push too hard, it can make Charlie spiral further. It is a really delicate thing to do, but I do think Nick needs to kind of sit down with him at some point and like, talk about it. And if that doesn't work, I think he needs to talk about it with an adult, with Charlie's parents, with Charlie's sister. She's not an adult, but I don't know, with his own mum, though she's not in the series, so I guess that won't happen. Like, I really do think it's not something that you can just ignore. And I'm sure Nick's thinking, I mean, also, if Nick doesn't handle this perfectly, he's 16, so I'm not going to be judging him for it. And it's so heartbreaking to see someone you love suffering, and to know so acutely that they are suffering and be so powerless to help them. And so I'm so proud of Nick for trying. And of course, Charlie would say, "I love you" through the bathroom door while Nick was in the shower. It's just so them. Why are we like this? And I love Nick charging after him so that he can say it back. And I think if Charlie had said it to Nick like without a door between them, Nick would have been like, had that kind of, oh my god, he just said he loves me, the shock face that we saw. And then it would have quite quickly, even if Charlie started to be like, oh, you don't have to say it back, Nick would have broken out into the smile and the like, I love you too. And it would have been like far less traumatic I mean, it wasn't traumatic because it was perfect, but it was just perfectly them, and it was so sweet. So yeah, I love this show. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon 2 weeks in advance, the edited version 1 week in advance. Obviously, this show just came out. Like, I'm posting these over the weekend. Well, no, I'm posting these over Friday and Saturday on Patreon for the edited, unedited, and then onto YouTube. Episode 3 will be up on Patreon when you're seeing this episode, basically unedited. And episode 2 will be up on Patreon, edited when you're seeing this on YouTube as episode 1, edited, if that makes sense. Yes. Thank you so much for watching.